if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. But that didn't happen. But he was specifically saying, I'm not Obama, and you actually, what I'm pushing for, you actually can. If you like your public school, you stay in your school.
You hear this quite often. In fact, we have viewers who will be like, that's exactly what it's like in my town of 3,000 people. The cop pulls you over and he goes, aren't you Jim's kid?
Please don't tell Dad.
Why are you speeding? I got to go. I'm going to see your dad down at the bar tomorrow night. And what am I going to say? I caught your kid speeding? And the kid's going to be like, oh, please don't tell him I did. Dramatically different experience. What you just said is the America nobody ever talks about.
What? That is the America that everybody constantly won't shut the f up about. Now, I get it. I mean, I've been in situations like that as well. And I mean, not to the point where my license was suspended or anything, but, you know, just the cops fucking with me because they could. How is that not the America that we talk about?
So right. in these discussions, we have gotten so negative about everything, and so the sky is falling about everything, and so awfulizing everything, to the point that the thing that you just said is invisible to us. Slate. It's not invisible to me because it's what I live. I live in a part of America that's the middle of America. It's the mainstream of what America really is, and it is not what these discussions are. We have just painted in this conversation the most bleak possible picture of American institutions and America. And everything.
It's a conversation about the issues in education. Welcome to the conversation.
It's terrible, and it's the left, and it's right, and all this. And then, Corey, in your state,
for somebody who has a hat that says organize, his thoughts are very disorganized.
Disorganization and tension.
You have some school districts that have $80 and $90 million football fields at a high school level, right? Why? Because Texas loves football the way that Indiana loves basketball. That is America. Yeah, that is like what the...
Bro, make a point. Stop just saying things. Make a point. What is the... Yes, there are rich schools and there are poor schools. That's what we're talking about.
System really is for us. Yes, we can pull up anecdotes about really bad things happening. We could do that. And if your entire algorithm is that, if your entire algorithm is bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, guess what? You start reflecting that, and the rest of America is doing things like when somebody dies, they bring casseroles to your house.
JL with the amazing catch for projection. Funny how he says they brought up the bleak things, yet he brings up a thing that made it seem like the school closures had something to do with race.
How dare you?
Projection. Just gotta force race into every little thing. And don't get me wrong, there's absolutely a racial factor to this conversation, for sure. But if you try to force it on those grounds, then it's going to get all messed up.
That's not going to work.
It's an economic issue that disproportionately affects minorities. It is an economic issue. You fix the economics, and the rest will take care of itself. I mean, you know, they're not going to be perfect, but if you try to just, you know, fix the diversity quota or whatever, you're not going to address the problem. You know, said, okay, now compare those rich schools of Texas, their graduation rates with Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, and LA. But if I'm not mistaken, I do think that is the point that he's making, that they're putting money in these schools, and other schools are not. I think that's where he's going with it. Yeah, always. There's nothing else that is at the core of any problem. It's just always race, sex, and gender.
Right? When somebody has a baby, stuff starts showing up at your house for free. When you need something, when you need a lawnmower in my neighborhood, if you needed a lawnmower, you can go and knock on a couple doors. You're going to get a lawnmower. That's the country I live in.
Angela, yes, lend Oscar a cup of sugar.
And that's not New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles.
And why do we always New York-icize America?
But New York spends $38,000 per kid. That's an aside. But
why do
I haven't talked in a long time.
Why isn't Minnesota the
high population density areas that have a massive influence on politics are experiencing a shattering of community their principle. Why do we have a conversation in this country about abolishing the police? Because police in New York and Chicago and LA to a certain degree, but LA is pretty spread out. So it's
Actually, it was
different.
Minneapolis. Is the
No,
one
for
thing
sure.
I can say about Minnesota that we offered in,
Guys, if you need a huge favor, just hit that like button. It is free. It takes 1 second and it helps out the channel so very much. Thank you.
But you have people in New York writing about their police fighting with cops, and then they want to abolish the police, and it ends up affecting small towns. So I think it was at the height of the abolish the police movement, something like half of police departments had some kind of budget removed because of the movement.
Fuck the police!
You get people who live in suburban areas who will hear on the news like, oh, the cops did this bad thing. Right now, the big story is Dexter Reed in Chicago. And then they're going to say, we need police reform. It's like, no, you don't. But this is the most, is half of the influence of the country. And especially when you look at.
Yeah. So he's talking about like, if you live in a place like where Organized just talked about, where, it's the America that we all love. And you are, let's say you're constantly online or something, and you're seeing in New York and LA and Portland and all the places any film was just listing, and they're saying, oh, we need police reform. Then it becomes this globalized, or not globalized, but nationalized thing where everybody is saying, oh, the police need to be fixed. It's like, well, those police need to be fixed, or those police what do you call them, precincts, or I don't, you know what I mean, that group of them, whatever it is you call it. And said, okay, now let's compare amount of money spent per student. And I bet you that all these inner city schools that are nearly failing are paid more per student than the rural school that was succeeding. Absolutely, there's no question, because the richer schools get all that money from property taxes. So that's not. I mean, it's taxes.
All taxation is theft.
But it's not the same thing as, it's coming from the people going to those schools. Whereas actually, I don't know for sure where the money comes from. But I know that, like education is the Department of Education is a federal thing. I'd be interested. I wouldn't even know what to search. Does anybody know how the budgets, like the federal budget for a particular school versus a state budget? Anybody know anything about that? That'll be interesting to see.
Look it up and Carter.
But absolutely, the schools that are worse, they definitely take more government money from the people who are not going to that school than the richer schools, for sure.
But this is is half of the influence of the country, and especially when you look at Democrats controlling institutions, media or otherwise, it's based on these big cities. So if we're talking about, what big cities are talking, like what big cities are going through, where large population density is creating this culture, which is affecting the greater society. Yeah, those are the problems. I don't think when we talk about the problems of schools, I'm not referring to a small town. Like I'm not talking about like Inwood, West Virginia. I don't know how it goes out down there. But people probably know each other there.
This is why I started out with the phrase, if you like your public school, you can keep your public school.
Yeah.
There is Gallup polling to suggest a recent all-time low in support for the public education system. And
if you missed it, that was an Obamacare joke. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. But that didn't happen. But he was specifically saying, I'm not Obama. And you actually, what I'm pushing for, you actually can. If you like your public school, you stay in your school. And it's only if you don't like that school, then you have the choice to go somewhere else. Zippy says the inner city schools refuse to teach kids. Yeah, I mean, it's more the culture is eroding to such a degree that it's not because these schools are rich and white that they do better, but the culture around them, there's not as much babysitting. There's not as much normalization of fighting and not just not paying attention and not doing. It's different, and it has an effect. And so I would even kind of say it's not really on the teachers as much there, because they have a lot more to deal with than just getting through the curriculum. Not that that's an excuse for anything, but it is definitely a real thing. So that said, learn the philosophy of logic, and you will have your eyes open. I definitely agree with that. That's what cured me of my Christianity.
I believe among conservatives, it was extremely low, about 9%. I know it was under double digits, an all-time low in support for the public education system. So we could talk about Hollywood and whether they're branding it in the right way or the wrong way, but we do have.
We'll do this.
Yeah, he's like, well, you know, I don't. You don't do your work on TV. No. My TV is based on my work.
So in West Virginia, right? This is the second most Trump supporting state in the country. And the schools started to bring in really offensive stuff. So there was a reaction. Jefferson County, which is the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, outright banned drag shows with kids. Child drag shows or drag shows with kids.
Should have done that yesterday.
Berkeley County, just to the west, allows it and actually has it in the public streets. So you actually have now parents who are furious. There was an election. I had people come to me. They were trying to set up a like a pod schooling system because,
again, I do not understand what could be a better option.
Woke left types who want to bring in graphic sexual content to schools, masquerading as conservatives, got elected to school boards and then started doing that.
Wild. Amongst9 said, in Ohio, public schools are funded via local property taxes. So a poor district like the one I live in gets very little. Not sure how much they get from the state or federal funds. Yeah, so that's what I was saying is that in a rich area, those property taxes, the local property taxes, the people who will live there and are sending their kids to those schools, there's going to be more money coming from those people to be able to do whatever they need to do. In a school that, or in an area that doesn't have as much property taxes coming in, then there's still a bare a base level of what constitutes an education, and so that's where the state and federal, well, I guess that would be federal funds, or maybe it's just different state funds. Maybe they have the when you pay your property taxes, a portion of it goes into this ESA thing that he was talking about. And then I don't know, like income tax or whatever else is something different.
I don't know how it works.
We'll figure it out.
But yeah, that would definitely be interesting to see like how that plays out. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that clip, check out the full live stream link in the bio and catch me live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. See you there.